Come on, camera. Come on, autofocus. You can do it. I'll hide my face. I'll hide my face. Stab, stab. Hey, what's up? I just had lunch. Right before lunch, I was recording no clip update videos. It's the first of the month. New patron show going up this weekend. Had to update everyone on all our 4 projects. We have Thief the Dark Project. We have Demon Souls the Demon Project. We have Prey the 2017 project. And then we have Question Mark the Secret Project, which I can't talk about yet. Yeah, if you're a patron show going up this weekend. And seeing as I had the camera set up and I was finished my manja, shoot, it's disgusting. 4K as well, so you're gonna be able to like tell what I had for fucking lunch. I thought I'd take a moment to do another vlog because this week we announced the shows that I'm doing on Giant Bomb, or at least the ones that I'm starting off doing. Who knows how long this relationship will last. It might be fruitful, or maybe these shows will be terrible and I'll disappear. La 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 la. I don't think that other one's gonna happen. I mean, I won't leave. They might be bad. I wanted to talk to you about the shows that are coming to Giant Bomb, and also like the sort of reasoning behind them, the like creative decisions, the production decisions that went into them, because that's kind of the bread and butter of what I do over on NoClip for the patrons. Is we do a lot of like talking about why we did something or our creative process, because NoClip is about creative process, it's about developers usually talking about theirs, but on the Patreon side, that's kind of what we do. So it's a muscle I'm used to flexing, and I thought it would be cool to have some chats about the creative decisions that went into the 2 shows that I've announced for Giant Bomb, because a lot of creative decisions went into them, quite frankly. It was kind of a lot of different, it was probably the one of the things that I've spent the most amount of time trying to make sure I got right. And the end result are 2 shows that like are very different, and also like one of them is kind of a bit more zany and the other one's a bit safer. So it might be confusing, but wondering like how do you end up with the 2 of these? So what are the 2 shows? The 2 shows are Born to Run, which is a sort of endurance run style show with myself and Tamor Hussein playing through each of the Soulsborne type games. And then the other show is a very different type of show. It's a produced, filmed, sort of like no-clip style, almost documentary investigation show, featuring Giant Bomb duders talking about obscure games. And that show is called Guilty Treasures. So why these 2 shows? How are these the 2 shows you come up with after, a couple of months of thinking about it? So it all starts, I guess, with the sort of one creative restriction I had, which is that Giant Bomb, the only thing they said to me, the various Jeffs who work at Giant Bomb, was that they wanted weekly. They wanted stuff that was weekly. I think they really want to pack the calendar with a lot of stuff. I think also it kind of makes sense when you're doing like contract work for people, is to sort of have a general cadence. So I had to produce at least 1 show a week with the set amount of hours I was going to work on Giant Bomb stuff. And those hours are set to me, right? Like I'm a busy person. I run a, successful operation. NoClip, employs a bunch of people, and we are busy and we work on big projects. I also have like a Formula 1 podcast. I also have a family and hobbies. So when it comes to this like experience with Giant Bomb, like I'm doing this for creative reasons. I don't need another job. It's not about, I'm getting paid to do it, of course, but like the motivation for this is not financial. It is a dream of mine to make stuff on Giant Bomb, and I have some hours extra a week that I didn't have a year ago for various reasons that now I can sort of like apply to this. So for me, if I need to do weekly shows, they have to fit within that schedule, right? The other thing is that I really want to do a show that's like beautifully filmed, uses all our no-clip equipment, one that I can write scripts for and interview people for and like thoughtfully edit and do all that. And I obviously can't do that weekly because it would just take way too much time, but I can do that monthly. So the idea was to have 1 show that was like pretty high production cost, but that would be really like evergreen and loads of people would watch it, and really sort of a new type of content for Giant Bomb and a novel idea, and that like we wouldn't have to rely on the game as much, because we'll do so much on the production side that like we can cover anything and people will be into this, or hopefully, you know, if I do a good job. And then the other one was the opposite, where it was kind of like, okay, let's do something that's like pretty low on production cost for the other 3 weeks. Is a series that is like sort of generally, if not watchable, but definitely like bankable in terms of quality. Like the games are always good. So as long as we keep the sort of the chat good, the banter good, and produce it in a thoughtful way, then we should be able to make something that's like cool and interesting to follow along with as well. Because the other show is kind of going to be a bit more of a one-hit wonder. The Soulsborne show is kind of more like a weekly series, so it's easier to sort of like get attached to it, I guess. So that was the sort of like top line thinking between the two shows. It was one show was meant to facilitate the other show, and then both of them were basically going to scratch different itches. One of the things that was really important to me with this process was not looking at it in the short term, but sort of looking a little bit more medium term with it. With Born to Run, it was very much looking at Elden Ring coming down the pipeline and knowing that I wanted to work on stuff with Timur. Timur's been a friend of mine for, I think we met on GameSpot's forums like, I don't know, 15 years ago now. We have a long history together. I won't overly repeat it here, but I met him online. We ended up being neighbors in London for years. We had a podcast together. We shot videos together. He got into the games industry. I couldn't. I struggled to break in. He left and then I got in. And then we were sort of like ships in the night, Then eventually I moved to Oakland. He was working in the UK. Then he came over, but I went to Maryland. So we've never had a chance to like actually work together on something. And also like the Giant Bomb community doesn't really know us very well. Like you kind of know me from Bombcast stuff and from appearing on the couch and stuff. But I've always in that responsibility tried to like fill the role of like whoever else was around. Like I was the extra person there. So I'm going to sort of not take up too much space that other personalities would on a podcast or on the show. So it's rare that I've sort of been my most verbose self, which is probably saying something because I probably talk too much on the Bombcast already. And then Timur's pretty similar. Like people kind of know Timur, who he is, but they don't really know him, I think, a lot of people on Giant Bomb. So I thought what would be a good opportunity would be to like sort of set that foundation, right? Have a show that we can do that is about pretty cool games that we're both interested in playing. He loves those games. I, adore Bloodborne, but I haven't really, and I've played maybe half the Demon Souls remake and a little bit of Dark Souls remaster, but I'm not that experienced in those games. All being said, and I really want to play a lot of them more. So that's a good stage for us to be able to do that. The other part of that sort of medium-term thinking was that there's a lot of like crazy stuff coming to Giant Bomb. Jeff's show was on today, Jeff Grubb's show, and my show starting Monday. These two are kind of not indicative of maybe the breadth of different ideas and different people who are coming to Giant Bomb. So I kind of wanted to plant a seed of Giant Bomb might be changing in lots of ways, but also we're staying the same. Like I wanted to have something that was a bit foundational, like an endurance run. That's kind of making a statement of where this isn't going away, or here's a series that like clearly is going to take us a long time to complete. We may take breaks, once we complete Demon Souls Remastered, maybe we jump to Dark Souls 2, or we mod one of them, or maybe Elden Ring is just around the corner at that stage, or maybe we're sick of doing these games and we go do a different type of series, whatever it is. But I wanted it to be a sort of a something that had a sort of a long shadow, cast a long shadow, because at least for me as a Giant Bomb fan, that was the lingering worry I had right at the start of all this, was like, how much is everything changing? Will it be the same website that I loved 6 months from now or a year from now, right? So that was kind of the other side of Born to Run, is that it is a pretty conventional idea, I guess, but that also there's a reason for that. It's kind of a little bit of a comfort food, maybe. And in terms of production, it'll be very different to endurance runs where, we're going to edit it. So like if I die a million times to, Flame Lurker or something, or Phalanx, hope not. we're going to edit the whole thing down. The first episode, for instance, I think we shot for an hour and 45 minutes and it's better now. No, I think it was 90 minutes and it's down to 60. And that includes a 5 or 10 minute intro where we talk about what we're going to do and about the show. So like it's a fairly produced show. It has like an intro and us on camera, and then it goes into the gameplay. So it's not like an endurance run where you have to watch 50 hours of something. It's going to be like compressed and watchable. Hopefully watchable and hopefully entertaining. And yeah, we'll see on Monday what people think, and I'm interested to see. And then the other show, the idea behind that one, Guilty Treasures, I keep forgetting the name, is that I wanted to, in the same way that I wanted to sort of have something that was foundational and was like reminiscent of an old idea, like a new take on an old idea. And then I wanted to also do a new idea that was very reminiscent of things from the past. So this is a new idea. It's a show where, I'm basically gonna call up one of the duders, Gersman's up first, ask him, hey, what's a game that you absolutely love? It's like one of your favorite games ever, but it just never got mainstream attention. There hasn't been 20, YouTube essays done about it already. There hasn't, it didn't win a bunch of Game of the Years. It's not a cult classic necessarily that eventually got an audience. It's kind of an unknown quantity. It can be so bad it's good. It can be a game that you love purely on nostalgia and not on quality, or it can be a game that you think is like actually really good that people sort of slept on. And then I will go away. And the second phase of the video is basically me then researching it, like highly edited, me playing the game, figuring it out, doing research on the developer, doing research on like the context that the game was made in, the era the game was released in, all that sort of stuff. And then the end is me going with one of these beautiful no-clip cameras and going up to Jeff's house or meeting somebody somewhere, and interviewing them, sit down, and a bit of like maybe showing their old game boxes or whatever, their copy of the game if they have it, a poster, I don't know. And then interviewing them about it and basically getting them to justify. I'll play this game and be like, what is it about this game that actually is important? And we will sort of collect a bunch of stories that has like one of the duders and a game they really like, and then, after a while we'll leave the sort of Giant Bomb staff zone, I'm sure, and go to like friends of Giant Bomb, people who are, people in the industry, the people who turn up on E3 couches, that type of thing. And then we'll build over, months and years a sort of catalog of interesting novel stories about games that probably wouldn't have been talked about before, but like with really high production value. That's the goal anyway. And the reason behind that is twofold. One, I really loved all the filmed stuff in the early couple of years of Giant Bomb. This Ain't No Game, How to Build a Bomb, that type of thing. I'm sick of Zoom calls. I've been editing Zoom calls for a year. I want more than anything else to get back in a studio with a lot of this stuff. I don't know what the plans are with that at all. Like, people are moving, and like the San Francisco definitely seems like the culture here is like people aren't going into an office in this year. Like all the game studios I'm talking to are like, talk to us in like mid 2022 and we might be all back in the studio. Like, I don't know what that's going to be like. So I wanted to sort of get the jump on all that and film stuff in real life with people. Because I've got a car, I've got a camera, I can fucking drive. I can drive pretty far. I like to go on road trips. I like to do this sort of stuff. So that was sort of the idea behind that. The other side of it was that a lot of Giant Bomb's sort of remit is to talk about games that are current, like newly released games. And those aren't always the games that people are most excited to talk about. Especially when it comes to our beautiful Giant Bomb staff, who are people who have been covering games for quite a while. Sometimes it's difficult for them to be enthusiastic about something, and they've certainly never feigned enthusiasm, which is something I actually really appreciate about all the people who have worked at Giant Bomb. They like to talk about games that they like, and some of my favorite series, like Metal Gear Scanlan, for instance, or all the Sim stuff Abby did, what I loved about that stuff was that it was clearly they were enjoying and looking forward to playing the game and talking about the game. So this was a way of me of basically getting people to talk about games they love without it just being the most obvious shit, without it being like, oh, let's talk about Ocarina of Time, or let's talk about, Street Fighter 2. Not that this wouldn't be great, but it would be a little rote. It wouldn't be as interesting for the viewer maybe to learn something new. So, you know, it's kind of like a glossed up Encyclopedia Bombastica in a way, like a high concept or high production value, not high concept, high production value version of that. And it has a lot of like creative wiggle room for me, which I really like. Like I don't even know exactly how that show will feel yet because we haven't started filming yet. But yeah, there are two very different shows. One of them is very bankable and very like, you know, it's not particularly tricky for me to do. I think the edit on the first episode has been 3 hours. And that was mostly because I made the logo and the intro and all that sort of stuff. And the playthrough was about 90 minutes. So I think all in all, each week it'll take me like 3 hours to produce the Born to Run. And then the, you know, kind of max probably. And then the other one, I've got way more time as a result to sort of like chip away at, which is great. So yeah, that's kind of the reasoning behind them. It's been a really fun process trying to figure it out because I could have done anything really. So understanding what my limitations were and then understanding what my personal goals were and then really researching the stuff that I cared about. So like what would be something that I would be excited to make and what is something that I think people would be excited to watch. And that's kind of where we ended up with those two shows, and we'll see how they go down. If you have any questions about them at all, stick them in the comments. I've kind of not really been online much this week because I've been editing Demon Souls and Thief documentaries like a crazy person for the past couple of days. So if there's any questions about this stuff that people don't know about, I don't know, there might be something really obvious I've not mentioned, please stick it in the comments below or hit me up on Twitter. And I hope you enjoyed the shows. There'll be a lot of like, you know, love put into making them, but also the way you make something that ends up being great is that you never nail it on the first go. Like I will be totally happy to work to make them better shows as they go on as well. But I'm confident enough that the first sort of episodes will be good, indicators as to like what type of shows they're going to be. And then I'm really excited for everything else that's coming because there's a bunch. I knew about like some of the stuff that's going on, and then there's other stuff that's coming that like I know a little bit less of. So I'm interested in seeing what all those are going to be like. But I don't think many of them are going to be like these two shows. So that's kind of what was important to me. All right, I'm out of here. I got to go back to editing. Speaking of oven, fucking stabbing. Ugh. Do not take this as an indication that I am pro. This is going to be a screenshot. That I am saying knife over bat. Am I though? I am. Yeah, I'm saying knife over bat. Bye.